What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Thank you for joining SW and I and a very special guest that we've been excited for a couple weeks now to have on the show. But thanks for joining us for episode 31 of State of Affairs. Yeah, if you can tell, we are joined by Rich today. Um, uh, Very prominent Twitter user at HeyWildRich. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Rich. SW and I, everybody knows who we are because everybody who's watching this knows what we do. But in case anybody's not familiar with your work, which I kind of doubt if you're watching this video, but if you want to just give a brief rundown of yourself and kind of where to find your work and what you do, man.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's nice to meet you guys. Oh, can you hear the saws going in the background now?
A little
Might be
bit.
you
Yeah,
hear that?
barely.
All right, cool. As long as it's not too bad.
It's not
All
terrible.
right, cool. Um, yeah. So my Twitter is at HeyWildRich. That's where I do a lot of just short form kind of shit posting, some fun. It's a little bit. I wouldn't say any of it's not serious, but sometimes people think like I don't go around and all day calling people niggas, but I do on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like
Totally get it.
like I mean it as a term of endearment. And I do some long form writing, mostly on countercurrents, and I've been on there and the Occidental Observer for I don't know, long time now, almost 10 years.
Nice.
And I have a big one I'm working on, kind of about the Indian immigration, Vivek, and tying all that in together. So yeah, that's kind of where those are the two places I am mostly. And I pop up now and then on when people like yourself invite me on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Twitter's
And
a
you,
wild place, and I love it. And there's all the jokes about any off color jokes.
sure.
It's a kind of a place to let off some steam. I love it.
Totally,
It's the
man. Yeah.
best.
Yeah, man. So yeah, like we were saying before the show, SW and I think we've been fans of you for a few years now, and you and I followed each other on my old account. So yeah, great to talk to you, man. So yeah, you said you pop up on things like this every now and then, but another place you've popped up is the Times of India recently.
Oh yeah,
Um, so
they've
yeah,
had me on a bunch this year.
yeah, you've done a really good job kind of stoking the hornet's nest a little bit, stoking the jeet nest a little bit.
It's
Um,
crazy. I see so many of like your hilarious posts, and it will just be like a hornet's nest of like 20 Indians just all irate, seething at it.
Yeah, there was the Times of India, the Hindustan Times. There was a couple other ones. Even I think the landlord thing, even like Business Insider even picked it up. And there was a segment on the Indian news about me, a 5 minute segment they did. It's just been I don't know how it. I've always kind of been. So I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and
right.
there's just a huge amount of Indians and then other subcontinentals. It's not just Indians. I also get
The
the
Haitian
Nepalis.
thing.
Well, I get Haitians,
Mm,
Somalis, and then the various other subcontinentals
Do you
on
guys have
top of.
Hmongs down there?
Not many,
Okay,
not
that's
many,
up
but
here. We get stuck with the Hmongs.
we have some. We have some of the other subcontinents, like there's the Nepali and the Burmese, and the Bangladesh or Bengalis or Bangladeshis, whatever they are. I'm not sure what
right.
The
they're formally.
Bangladeshis and Sri Lankans scare me. They have like they remind me of the dude from Temple of Doom that rips the heart out.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I had like for my job, I have to go into a lot of houses that are being sold and kind of assess like possible work that has to be done.
okay,
I
yeah.
had to go into one that was it was like a Bangladeshi or Sri Lankan family. I go into the basement and I see no joke, it's a wooden tree stump with a butcher cleavers in it, and there's
Yeah.
blood on there's blood on the stump.
Oh, dude,
Oh gosh.
absolutely. So
Oh
the
man.
the apartment where a buddy of mine just moved from, where there was a big mix of all these people, like in this small. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a small apartment complex. There was probably 150 units back there, but not huge by any means. If we went, we would walk around the apartment complex with the dog sometimes, and in the back of it, I mean, I would see goats. There'd be live chickens. I mean, which in one hand, it's like I don't know what to make of it because in one hand, it's like in rural America, people have chickens and goats, and sometimes they slaughter them. But then on the other hand, it's like this is just outside of Columbus, Ohio, in a very, very urban setting. And you're kind of going down these alleys, and it's bizarre to turn the corner and see a goat that they're about to slaughter.
Well, and you know that they're not doing any of like the necessary sanitation, any of
No,
the
no, it's
necessary,
filthy, filthy.
Well,
like that's the thing with white, I mean, frankly, with white people, I don't, black people are pretty notorious for not being the best like animal caretakers a lot of times. So but with white people, like if they're gonna like slaughter a chicken or something to eat, like I feel pretty safe about getting the requisite sanitary
Yeah.
things down. But these people, it's like I don't know what kind of diseases we're letting loose into the country here.
Oh, it's crazy. There's so many. So there's so many of them here, and that's kind of how I think why I was on the when I first started posting about Indians, people would be like, what they seem to assimilate just fine. What's wrong with them, bro?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, you'll
Mm-hmm.
see.
yeah,
Wait till
Jordan and I talked about that a little bit, where it's like people have this like weird mindset. Well, used to have this mindset, but
It's
of like the
slowly
early
going away.
'90s, '80s ones who came and were like, they're kind of like Apu from The Simpsons, like,
Right.
and Nye Mets, like, how do you do, fellow Americans, kind of thing. It's like, and
yeah,
it was almost kind of like cute and like, oh, look at them. But now it's like this second crop that came in like the
Yes.
2010s
oh
are
yeah,
at a whole different level.
Yeah, so that's like a perfect segue. So the Indian assimilation thing, I think we've done like full episodes on this. So you two are kind of more from, you guys are closer in proximity, 'cause you guys are like Midwesterners, Upper Midwest for SW. I'm in Dallas, and
oh shit,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's and it's
So
it's making it's a positive thing that it's now kind of entering the spotlight, like the extent to which Indians are running Dallas now. But it's
yeah,
also frustrating because I've been seeing this since like 2012.
yes,
I used to be in my previous life, I was like a manager, like an assistant manager for a large retail store. And this was in the mid 2010s or so, and that's really when you started to see this influx of Indians. And it made me think back to like my childhood. I'm 32. I didn't know any Indians in school. I knew my first Indian when I was in junior year of high school, and they were very well assimilated, like we're saying. But after that, you got this, people became familiar kind of with their lack of sanitation, their rudeness, their haggling at the store. Famously, like there will be an object on the shelf that is marked at a price, and they would come up and haggle with the cashier for
oh
20
yeah.
minutes. It was horrible, and it was really like people's first insight into the Indians. But I mean, I think it's a lot of it's just the conversation that's happening now. I think people are starting to see like we may
Well,
have
because
made
of
a huge
they've kind
mistake
of
here.
well, because of how they've invaded so many white collar fields, I think even the more kind of baseline normie left leaning kind of, I don't want to say like super libs, but just like like the normies are having to deal with these with Indians in the workplace, or they're dealing with them in, or from a service perspective, where now it's one of those things where if I bring up Indians to anybody, I don't have to worry about somebody calling me a bigot. It's literally
Yes.
across the political spectrum. If you just start ragging on Indians, everyone joins in.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is starting to be more discussed now, but they have no victim narrative, and that's what really buys you like cachet as minorities in America. Like there has to kind of be like a bigger story for people to feel sympathetic for you. So not that I'm a proponent of this, but I'm just saying that like the slavery thing, like that gets buy-in from liberals. But Indians coming here, people have kind of seen the extent to which there's not really much sympathy for them, and I like that that's starting to kind of make its way
Oh,
into the mainstream.
it's really starting to, like, I think when I was in that group trip down in Mexico City, this one girl, like, I knew she was very, very, very little. Like she had pronouns on her Instagram profile, but the second me and one of the this other guy on the trip started, because we kind of have our businesses overlap, and we were ragging on Indians being like the worst customers to deal with, and she joined in, and it was like if we talked about any other ethnic group, she would have been horrified.
Yeah, I mean, even very like metropolitan libs. I mean, I'm just thinking of personal examples, but this is across the board. like you said, you can talk to them actually very openly about the fact that Indians are kind of invading like these white collar jobs, like very urban offals, they will agree with you that like, and they'll say it in the kindest way possible, but they'll be like, yeah, our whole IT department is Indian, and it doesn't smell great over there, and they're kind of rude actually. So I like hearing that, and I like the kind of the change of pace because that's kind of a big step to get libs to be a little bit mean towards another race. It doesn't happen
Well, I
very
think
often.
another thing is Indians go really heavy into, even though they're absolutely terrible at it, they go really big into trying to get as many loans as they can to become landlords because it's
Mm,
like they think they're kings when they do that. And,
Yeah.
that's one demographic libs are not too crazy about.
true,
And
true.
it's one of those things where I think what happened is a lot, like maybe a decent portion of libs have had Indian landlords, and then all of a sudden, when you have that, like I don't know how anyone could live on an Indian landlord.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any of the I don't know if you've ever been to Toronto, but Brampton is a suburb of Toronto and now it's
Right.
Oh, I've
entirely
seen
Indian.
stuff like online and just
I've
like
seen that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
for
they
all we
have you seen some of the postings for like landlords posting open rooms and apartments and it's
oh yeah,
like
must be female.
must be
Yes.
female
Share a
rent.
room with me.
Yeah, rent's $1,500, but if you're hot, it's 1,200. If you're hot and have sex with me, it's free. If you be my girlfriend, I'll pay you. And it's
Yeah.
insane.
There is this thing where and I think we can probably segue into Vivek here, honestly, because it's a good tie-in. They do have this desire to like come here and be kings. Like, I also don't think you can underestimate the extent to which like Indians view a lot of porn and look at a lot of white women over in India, and they think that like I'm going to
Your
go to
sister's only
America,
fans. Your
yeah, or
sister's own. That's
yeah,
their go-to
Oh
response.
yeah. So
and
two things about that. One is I think their caste system plays some degree in this. Like somebody was telling me, I have a friend. I actually have an Indian friend who's in India, and he was telling me that people like think it's beneath them to pick up trash. Like that's the lower caste's job to pick up trash. So if you are seen throwing trash around, that's a status signal that you are like so high caste nobody can like say anything to you about throwing trash and somebody else will pick it up. And then the other thing is about the OnlyFans. One, I think you're right that I think they view a lot of it and that's their only interaction. But two, I read this. There was two articles about it. One was in Wired, and I forget where the other one was. But what has popped up with OnlyFans? There are these industries around supporting OnlyFans women. There's management agencies, and there's also a big thing that's in the Philippines and India, where the two main like they're chat centers. They're like call centers, but for chats. What they do is they employ Indians and Filipinos that know English and have them pretend to be the girls
ah,
in the chats. So, like, if you're talking to some OnlyFans girl that has, 100,000 followers or whatever, it's not her obviously.
right.
Her management team farms that out to these groups of and they're almost all guys. And I was this article is horrific. I mean, it was talking about like it was interviewing one of the Indians talking about how this Indian was like begging a guy for dick pics, pretending to be the OnlyFans girl,
Uh-huh.
and then pretending to like love his pictures to get him to buy more of the exclusive content because they get for every they get like 10% of everything they sell. So if they get a
Wow.
guy in the chat to buy more of the videos or photos or tip them more money, they get a percent of it. So I think the other thing is inside of probably being just rabid porno viewers, a lot of them are being employed to pretend to be women to sex with other men. And I can't think of that's like the most humiliating raped existence on the entire planet.
Yeah, exactly. Like the call center chat support meme is real,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now we're like at another level where like their chat support for the degeneracy of the Western society. it's hellish. That is hellish.
And then it's like, so imagine if an Indian is subscribed to this, thinking he's talking to the girl, and it's another Indian,
It's
and it's just like,
another
and it's just two Indian dudes jerking off to each other.
right. Oh my gosh. That yeah, man.
I mean, this is like Kafka-esque level of insanity.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but that totally tracks though. Especially if they're good at English and don't have those tells because they don't
Yes.
they don't get the syntax exactly right. Even the best speaking indie like not like Vivek because he's like the final boss of like
Oh yeah,
of,
he's
of
he's the
skin of skin
yeah
suiting. But
yeah.
but yeah, if they get the syntax right, because they mess that up a lot. That's how you can always tell because they don't put the verbs in the right way, or
Hmm.
there's
They
always something
mumble.
there. Yeah, yeah, there's always
It's the
something there.
mumbling and like they also say the words way too close together.
Yeah, yeah, there's
And
usually
then they have
always
the
a tell.
audacity to get mad when you can't understand what they're saying.
Right, right, right. Um, yeah, so to get into Vivek a little bit more, I'm just to preface it, I Viv or not SW and I talked about this last week that we don't particularly, but this was the take that I saw from a lot of your followers, Rich, also, was that I don't particularly feel bad mentioning Vivek's kids because he has been
he,
lambasting the American youth
he
for,
opened the door,
yeah,
as they say. I mean, he invite. What do you, if you're going to talk about how bad the American youth is and Americans aren't raising children, the
exactly.
logical thing is for people to look at how you're raising a child.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And there's just something I'll let SW go in on this too, and because I've said this, but there's just something so offensive to me about Vivek specifically because I think back to my childhood and I had a pretty normal one. Like I went to the mall, I did all the things that Vivek said make me a lazy American. I went to the mall, played middle school and high school sports, talked to girls, did all the normal American things, rode bikes around the neighborhood, could leave your bike in the front yard over the summer, go to the pool, like just a great American existence. I look back on my childhood very fondly. But there's just something offensive to me about this guy with his Beavis and Butthead face-shaped head, his fake haircut to hide his receding hairline. He has the big shoes, and he's going to come here and lecture people in Ohio who are like representative of America in a way that I actually don't even see in like places like New York. Like these are like the salt of the earth Americans, and he's going to come over here and lecture us. So like Vivek has a unique place for me where of just total disdain, and it's reciprocated. He has disdain for us too, probably because he got made fun of in school or whatever. But there's a
Absolutely.
unique thing about Vivek for me personally.
I agree. So I'll hit on this. So one funny story from middle school. There was like, you remember what middle school was like. Well, at some point, somebody, that was like started talking about shoe sizes and what it relates to other things. So this one
Yeah,
kid,
it's
this
classic middle
one
school.
kid, yeah, I did. This one kid started wearing like his dad's shoes to school. And, and then like he was wearing like these size 12 sneakers when he really wore like a 7, and his shoes would just flop around, and he'd be like, yeah, I just grew over spring break, and like,
The
it's huge. It's huge, just like my feet. And everybody made fun of him so much because we knew he was just doing that to be like, yeah, you know what the big shoes mean. And it was
right,
it was just a funny, wholesome, like, he got made fun of, but like not abused. Like he
right.
he went back to his normal shoes shortly. And so I wonder if like Vivek just never grew out of doing something like that.
Yeah,
It's like girls stuffing their bras, but Vivek with his shoes.
He
there
almost
is.
reminds me of that Cato Institute guy, Alex. He's like he's like the fake nice version of that Alex. I can't even pronounce his name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Narasta?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like the same exact person, but I feel like, and their whole root of everything is that they were bullied, and that they were
absolutely.
bullied by like the traditional American
Absolutely.
kids, and they didn't just take it as like normal run of the mill schoolyard roasting that you get over, or like with the kids you just said, you get made fun of, you adapt and adjust, you take your lumps and move on. Where they
Yeah.
didn't, and I like more so with the Cato guy, but I feel like Vivek is the exact same, where it's like their whole existence is like a vendetta.
It absolutely is. Yeah, Alex Narasta, I hate that guy. Um, they never take it. yeah, they never learned anything from the bullying. Like I think everybody, no matter how cool or popular you were, like there was a certain amount of bullying that took place. I remember when I was like a sophomore in high school, I was like experimenting with facial hair, right? And I had just kind of let everything grow for a little bit. And this girl, this really cute like gymnast girl that I kind of semi had a crush on, she was like, I kind of liked the longer sideburns, but now you just like look like a dirty Puerto Rican.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
damn.
and so, but like it didn't affect me for the rest of my life. She was in her own mean way was trying to say this isn't the facial hairstyle for you. And I remember like another thing, experimenting, like trying different clothes on and trying finding my style. And one girl was like, "Oh, the outfit yesterday was really good. Today you look a little fruity." Guess what? I didn't wear that shirt again. I didn't. It didn't like bother me the rest of my life. I don't have some vendetta against her. It was a helpful like
And
kind
that's
of
not being a conformist either.
no. It was like
Right.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but these guys are so maladjusted. And then I think in that rant, it came out too about like, oh, you didn't get
Yes.
invited over to sleepovers. So now you just have a vendetta against sleepovers forever. And then the other thing that's extremely grating about Vivek that you mentioned, Jordan, is like the Indians come from a failed, disgusting state.
Hmm.
Their economic growth is through fraud and remittances. Their
Right.
education is abysmal. They can't build anything themselves. They can't do anything themselves. Most of the infrastructure they have
It's
is
from
left over.
Britain.
Yeah,
Right.
it's from the British Raj. The
Hmm.
nice buildings they have is from the Mughal Empire. They
Hmm.
just it just they just are all in all failures. And the little success they do have coming here, it's just because it's a liberal society where they can get away with these kind of scams that Vivek and his family do. They can't go to China and do that; they'd be executed. And
Exactly.
they can't go build something in like Venezuela because there's not this.
They'd have to be the project managers on it, and they're idiots at that. And this is something kind of
Exactly.
with my job where I posted a tweet a while ago about how like I deal with different types of property owners, and like say what you will about the Han, they are they just care about protecting their investment. Whereas
Yeah,
like there was a
yeah.
situation where a really nice Han couple I know, they had a nice duplex that they just bought. We went into the basement and the toilet was backing up because one of the college student tenants was flushing wipes down.
Bro.
And so like it was backing up through the drain. And what they did was they immediately called the 24-hour plumber, emergency plumber, got him out there. He fixed it, and they sent a nasty email to the tenant that they were gonna put the bill onto their rent or something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Indian landlords I know would have stood around in a foot of shit for two
Hmm.
days. They would have called the emergency plumber, tried to haggle him down to 30% below his cost, and then they would have hired some meth head who would do it for like 50 for like 150 bucks, and then
And
they
that would make them
basically,
feel good to hire the meth head because
well, yeah, they feel
they're
it.
higher than
That's all
him.
they can. Well, that's the thing. That's another joke I always made from in my experiences. Every time I have to, I should say every time, like 95% of the time when I have to go to an Indian landlord's house, he always has his trashy kind of, and I'm not trying to dump on white people, but it's always a very trashy white guy who's not handy and basically does tries to be the electrician, plumber, jack of all trades because the Indian's super cheap. And instead of just like dumping this person and hiring people who can actually do the work, the Indian gets off on the power dynamic
Oh,
Exactly.
sure. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
lording around and like trying to and basically trying to show this guy how to fix a toilet, and it's a disaster.
Yeah.
And that's why they can't actually do stuff like build in third world countries.
Well, yeah. I mean, not to harp on like the open defecation thing too much because it's just disgusting, but that was kind of my first like major red flag with the Indians was that so at the store I worked at where I was an assistant manager for a couple of years, whenever we had a big influx, or we only noticed this when the Indians started coming, at the end of the night, I would have to send somebody to like clean the bathrooms while I closed up. And it was always it was usually always the women's restroom, which is even more horrifying. But it was always them that could not seem to aim correctly. And like you would have like a horrible, disgusting mess. And it just left me thinking like what that those were kind of some of the first questions I had about like multiculturalism or even multiracialism. But like I was like, do they really not like know how to do this? Is this a shit test? Literally a shit test? Like what's going on here? And that kind of woke me up like, wow, they really that's not just a meme. Like they really don't know how to do this and they're not equipped to be a part of this society. I'm sorry. Um, the next thing that you said, Rich, that we can get into, I had a video pulled up that kind of goes over this. You said that they love, kind of like Vivek said in his infamous "Saved by the Bell" tweet. They love to flex their high education levels and everything. And
Yeah.
where was it? Is it one? Yeah, it's this one.
Oh yeah, this video is crazy.
Yeah. So one thing you've noticed this too, they love to talk about the idea that they're doing so much better educationally than Americans, and they always like to cite their SAT scores, but they never cite the PISA scores because India only participated in it 1 year, and they ranked around I think the bottom fifth, around like Chad, Niger, Ghana, and everything. Um, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what Vivek does. You can watch this clip really quick. Um, and just give me your thoughts on it. But that's what Vivek does. Every time he's questioned about something like this, that's why he focuses on the education thing so much, because it's something that's self-serving. And in his mind, he can say, well, the Indians do great at this. And also, highlighting education is that is a very boomer thing to focus on. You hear boomers say this kind of stuff like, we don't have civic education. And they're probably right to an extent, but the idea that like if all the kids could just name the last 30 presidents, then our society would be fixed. It's like, well, no, the problem is the people that we've brought in, not that we don't know factoids. And the Indians are just like, especially Vivek, they're like a factoid people. Every speech
Well,
he
it's the
gives, he
Indians
wants
and the
to,
Han too.
yeah, they just want to give you like factoids and stuff to prove that they're smart. And that's really not what intelligence is. But yeah, let's check this out. This is him talking to salt of the earth Americans about how shitty their own country is.
For you, man.
Sure.
What are we going to do about the H-1B and the Haitians?
Well, look, I think that you have to actually ask, is somebody adding value to our country? And our immigration system needs to actually reflect it. So I did it on Springfield. We did 2 hours on it. I don't know if you were there. We're doing crime today, so we didn't, obviously not pertinent to today. But
I mean, are we going to make sure
those are
Ohio
federal
gets
policies.
jobs first?
We've got to make sure Ohioans get jobs first. You know where it starts? With our education system.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, our schools are failing.
And it's just offensive to me. Rich, kind of what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on
So he does a couple things here. One is when he wants to talk about how great like the Indian migrants are, he doesn't have any issue with he makes this delineation of like, well, I can't comment on that because it's a federal policy.
Mhm.
H-1B and the Haitian migration is a federal policy. I can't comment on that. But when he was talking about how great all the immigrants are, which again, federal policy, he could do that.
Right.
So he does a little sleight of hand there.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that was particularly grating is how condescending, like, so this guy genuinely is worried about jobs for Americans, right?
Right. You can
That we're
hear it.
asking
You can
him.
hear that he's like an older, maybe
Yes.
early 60s, but you can tell he's from America. He's from the county. This is his land, basically.
Yes. So he's genuinely concerned about American jobs going to Americans. And this is something, we've talked about it many times. Like, if a company wants to come here and use American infrastructure and get American tax breaks, and then use the infrastructure that the American taxpayers paid for, but then not hire Americans, that's a foreign company. Like, they
Right.
just,
Right.
just there's no point of them being here. They just want to like take all the benefit and
It's
then
just
send.
it's parasitical. Yeah.
Yeah, and
100%.
then they want to externalize all the negative externalities that they're going to cause: the extra traffic, the extra energy consumption, extra pollution, extra people here, but then reap all the benefits from it. So this guy genuinely concerned about American jobs going to Americans. He's trying to bring this up, and then he kind of says it a little. He's just a normal guy. He's it's a little clumsy about what are the H-1Bs, but you can tell what he's getting at.
Yeah.
So Vivek, one, just kind of Oh, well, that's, why would I know about that? I'm just the governor. That's a federal issue, even though we've commented on it many times before. And the other thing is the condescending going, well, you know where that starts? With the education, as if these H-1Bs and Haitians their education sucks. These people coming from failed countries, they have shitty educations. And the idea that, like, well, Mr. Ohioan, you can't really expect to have a job because you're all just so stupid. So maybe if you actually got some education, people would consider hiring you, knowing it's just all either pure ethnic nepotism or being able to hire people for cheaper. And there's another little sleight of hand Vivek does about how we need to get rid of the H-1B system and make it easier to come over. He doesn't actually have an issue with the H-1B issue is not about H-1B visas. It's about foreign workers ultimately. And
Mm-hmm.
he's saying we need to make it, bring in people and not tie it to H-1B, because essentially what he's getting at is he just wants foreigners to be able to come into the country and work without it being tied to a particular job. So if they have a visa for
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft and Microsoft cuts them, they
Mm-hmm.
got to go back and find another job. He wants them to be able to get cut from Microsoft and then stay in the country
Right.
and then compete for jobs. He's just extraordinarily slimy in every single way, and he's like the final boss. He's the apex predator of Indians. When like little black kids in the hood want to grow up and be young Jeezy, little Indian kids in the Mumbai slums want to grow up and be Vivek. Like
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I mean, that he gets, I mean, I'm doing a little armchair psychology here, but the thing that just is offensive to me also is just that that he kind of gets off in a way when he's standing on
yeah.
stage looking at in his mind, these bumpkins, these stupid white people who don't even, I bet they don't even know who the third president was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, Indians are
because
so big on rote memorization. Why are they into
exactly.
that?
I
Why
don't,
are they why do they think like rattling off factoids is like the
well,
epitome of genius?
you see that also. It's not just a Vivek thing. You see that with how they all raise their kids too. They are all
Yes.
into the Kumon learning centers and studying for tests. And I'm not against
Practice
studying for tests.
piano and classical instruments, but they never produce any original work.
That's
It's
No.
a,
Yeah.
always
that's
just
that's a
being the
great point.
best at playing someone else's music on a piano.
Right, right. Yeah, it is a factoid game. That's why the SAT score thing is just misleading to me. I really don't care what their SAT scores are. I want to know if they're like actually intelligent, which they're not. The average IQ of India is 76. So that answers that right away. We know what they do on the PISA tests. We know they cheat on the SATs. We know a lot of their
Yes.
grades from a younger age are because the parents get in there and berate the teachers.
Yep.
An interesting thing that's starting to come about now is that teachers politically of across the spectrum, they lean left. Being a teacher is a liberal coded profession in general. But if you
Absolutely.
go to r/teaching, there are an increasing number of posts that you're seeing from these previously left-wing teachers saying, well, I am a teacher in the Dallas suburbs, and I don't want to say which city,
The
but
Fresno's where they all are.
Frisco,
Frisco, that's it. Yeah.
Prosper, Salina. A lot of these cities they're about 70% Indian in some of the elementary schools, which is terrifying
Wow.
because
That's
that's terrifying to me.
yeah.
But these teachers are coming out saying, we have an influx of a population from Asia. I don't want to
Mm.
say which Asians this is because I don't want to be racist. They're talking about Indians. And they say that like an Indian child gets like a 98 on a test. They had the highest grade in the class. And the parent will come in and negotiate that 2 points to be 100. And it's
Wow.
like that's not trying to increase your kid's knowledge. You're not doing that because you want your kid to be well-rounded. You're doing that because, again, like with the factoids, they really just care about the numbers on the page, not the ideas behind it. And that's just how these people are. It's just incredibly offensive to me, man.
Yeah, they don't care. It's just a status thing, so they can say their kid got a better grade or get them into a better school. And it's like you said, it's just very hollow, and there's nothing behind it, which is why they have a crappy society. Because it's if you just care about some sort of showy bragging rights for something and not substance, you're going to produce a crappy society.
Right. There was one other video we can look at. Are you, Rich, are you good on time?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm not talking like another hour or anything. I just wanted to make sure you don't need to go or anything.
No, no, I might have to jump off for like 2 minutes when some people leave so I could
Oh yeah,
talk
that's
to them
cool.
about tomorrow, but that's it.
Yeah. Let me throw on this video really quick. We don't have to watch all of it, but this is also, like you're saying, with the sleight of hand thing. So this was before everybody was focused on the Venezuela thing, and just from the only thing I'll bring up about Venezuela, and this is really the only my only real concern that I've even tweeted about the Venezuela thing. God, I hate having this guy on my screen. It's just disgusting. It's like it's really gross. I hate
Looks like
looking
a
at his.
giant roach.
Yeah, dude. And I may not be the most attractive guy, but he has that Somali head thing where it
Yeah.
expands in the upper.
Well, you're a normal looking dude that you'd expect to see in America, which is
Yeah,
like
like a
yeah,
maybe
like if
maybe
I
maybe like a brown guy, but he's walking around and
yeah,
he
but then
talked
this
he
is
talked to me. I sound like an American.
yeah, there's something different between I've been like my joke is calling them like retro blacks or classic blacks of like the blacks that I grew up that were in this country when I grew up.
Right.
And like, I see them and then there's a certain level of Mexicans that were in the country when I grew up. And but like everybody else past 1995, I'm just like, what do you even? I've never seen you
Well, I've never
before.
seen this
It's like,
physiognomy. It's like
yes,
assaulting me.
yes.
Um, but yeah, yeah. So we're talking about, oh yeah, the Venezuela thing. The only thing that I've tweeted about that my real concern is with regards to to domestic issues is that right when the strikes happened was when there was kind of a tipping point in the U.S. about H-1Bs, legal migration, Indians scamming,
Somalis, yeah.
Somalis scamming. And I'm not making a claim. I'm not saying we did the strikes to distract from the Somalis. Not saying that. I'm saying that I'm concerned that
Yeah, the
all
timing sucked. Yeah,
the
yeah.
momentum that we had on this issue, I feel like it's gone. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong
Well,
on
I
that.
guess today, though, apparently they're sending a lot of feds
Yes.
into to Minnesota. So
And that was a very optimistic thing for me because it shows that there is still momentum there. They haven't totally lost focus. So
it's not just the current thing.
exactly. So let's hope and pray that that actually continues. But this Vivek clip was in response to the Somali thing. And I just think that this was like a layup for him. If you're a Republican, like, how are you even just, you'll see what I mean, but this could have been a layup and he just can't bring himself to do it.
No doubt about it. And the situation in Minnesota sounds pretty bad based on the facts, but let's just take a step back, Jason. You want to get to the root cause of the problem? It is the vast scope of the overgrown federal welfare state itself. That's the actual problem. The reality is, even if you look at since the pandemic, what are the numbers? $1.7 trillion in federal transfer payments before the pandemic. That was already way too high, unjustifiably high. But 1.7 trillion before the pandemic, it's almost $5 trillion a year today. That's unjustified. And when you have the government overtaxing people across the board and then reallocating that money through a complicated scheme to a smaller number of individuals, it is ripe for abuse. And that means the biggest money laundering operation of all is actually the size and scope of that federal welfare state itself. The answer is, you know what? Put money back in the pockets of American citizens through lower taxation. Let individuals actually decide how to spend their money rather than the government doing it for them. That's the answer. Now, Democrats created this problem ever since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, the biggest misnomer in U.S. policy history. That dates back 60 years. But now it's up to Republicans to fix it. And if we fail to tame that federal welfare state, we're in the long run complicit for the problem as well. And that's going to be much more important in the long run, I'm just being honest here, than playing whack-a-mole one at a time every time a viral video pops up. That's good. I appreciate the efforts of those who are doing it. But the real answer has to be constraining and taming the scope of the federal welfare state itself. We got to man up and do it. And if we don't, we're just going to see this happen over and over and over again. And I'll tell you, I'm going to do my part in Ohio in leading our state to be zero income tax.
Yeah, so when Somalis are raping your country and are setting up fraudulent daycare centers and are just offensive to look at, dude, that's whack-a-mole. That's just whack-a-mole. We can't solve,
Whack-a-mole.
dude. That's just whack-a-mole. That's
You can't
just
solve that.
it's just a viral SW. That was just a viral. It's a viral video. You can't do anything about that. But you know what we can do? We can make sure that hardworking Americans have no social safety net. That's what we can do. So
Oh
if
man.
you're a white guy in the Midwest who got his job outsourced to India and you need, 3 months, God forbid, Vivek, 3 months of welfare to get by and raise your kids, you're just a lazy bum. We need to take money away from you, and that's just whack-a-mole.
Well,
Yeah,
like with
it's just
anything, it's
offensive.
just like, you know, he blames white Americans take the brunt for bad schools, air quotes, and welfare, air quotes, when he wouldn't dare criticize those who are actually taking it and not contributing.
Right. That's
Yeah,
kind of the.
that's a big part of the
Oh, no,
issue. Yeah.
I'll let you go, Rich. What did you at the any takeaways there?
Um, yeah. So he he kind of like brings it like I made one point on X where it was like, okay, yeah, we obviously have all these scam childcare. The way they work, I don't know. Do you guys know how they work? They do it with these voucher systems where you can apply for if you don't make very much money. And they started out like a lot of policies. Some liberal was like, these working moms and working families are struggling with childcare. Let's help them out. And you can get these vouchers for however many kids you have and how many days they're in. Well, I guess that the days come later. So you get a voucher per kid. And then when you go to one of these daycares that participate in this program, you swipe a card and it acts as a voucher, kind of like EBT works.
Okay.
And the number of kids times the number of days that these daycares operate, they then send a bill and said we had, for 30 days we had an equivalent of 700 kids because X amount of kids times 30 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they get a check for that many people, and then
Okay.
they will give the parents who scan their vouchers with them a kickback from that.
Okay.
So this is all these, it's all to do with these vouchers. And then what went on before these daycares in Columbus is Somali women would just, the way it started is like one Somali woman would have 7 kids, the other one would have 7 kids. They'd each just get the voucher, each start a quote unquote home daycare, and then swap the vouchers with each other, and then just watch their own kids, but get paid a bunch of money to do it. And then
That's
that grew into this like multi-billion-dollar fraud industry. And so I made a point which many other people made, I'm sure, which is like, why are there so many Somalis in this country, and why are we paying Somali daycare to begin with? So then Vivek kind of does something like that, but then takes it all the way back to like, well, this is a nanny state issue. We need to. I had a professor once who was like, yeah, if we just return to federalism, it would deal with this. And I was like, my nigga, these people don't even know what federalism is. They don't care what federalism
Exactly.
is. Trying to explain federalism to these fresh off the boat immigrants is just the most hilariously like white liberal thing to do on the
Yes.
planet. So, does he have any point? Not really, because he's like, let's just eliminate the whole. Well, why can't we just,
Like remove the
not have?
rampant fraud.
Why can't we
And
just
well
not
the
have Somalis
well the
here?
Indians
You know?
also all bring their other generations with them, so they don't even need daycare like normal people. So of
Yes, and
course
all
they're going to
those
be
people
biased about that.
and then they all get all kinds of, they all sign up for benefits as soon as they can, and they get their old folks on Medicaid, and it just everything about them's scammy.
yeah,
The Indians do it in a little bit more less obvious way, but we'll be figuring them out soon.
yeah, it reminds me of we did an episode a few months ago called "The War on Young White Men," and there's a lot of clips that are going around from Republicans, like Tommy Lahren did this, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, did this, where they'll talk about like Medicare or Medicaid abuse and welfare abuse and all that. And you think that they're about to talk about Somalis or even like black people or something, because that's where a lot of the fraud's coming from. And then in the last sentence, they'll say, yeah, there's too many of these kids living in mama's basement
I
playing
saw that.
video games and eating Cheetos. And it evokes imagery of like a lazy white guy abusing the Medicare system or Medicaid system. And that's not what's going on at
It's
all.
insane.
We know
Yeah.
what's going on. And Vivek does that also in that clip where, if you listen to him, he's talking about big government. I mean, I guess if you're based, you may picture like a black person abusing, their injury or something and getting a check for 10 years. But really what he's doing is he's kind of just like not naming the problem and doing this very vague thing. and you'll just end up picturing like a white guy abusing the system, which is not that common actually. Um, but yeah, I'd be curious to know. You may even have the stats on this, Rich, but I would be curious to know the level of Indian welfare. I feel like they actually don't receive welfare that much, and that's probably something that Indians use as an example of like, see, we don't even use welfare. We don't scam anybody. But I would be curious kind of what federal programs they use. I kind of want to look into that, but
Well, I feel like
um
they scam food banks more.
interesting. Yeah, so as opposed to like being on the government dole, technically
Yeah, like
they
instead
yeah,
of getting food stamps, what they'll do is they send their old Indian grandma, who doesn't speak English, down to the food bank, and they get all sorts of stuff from a food bank rather than through the traditional means of like food stamps.
right, right. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I've seen the
Um
food bank scams going around. I saw that locally. I dropped off a bunch of stuff um, in November, and it was a food bank at a church, and it was like very, everybody that was like working it were like older white folks, and people were dropping off were white folks, and then like everybody there getting stuff was Indian. It was insane.
yeah, of course. Of course, man. Um, yeah, I think for the last thing, yeah, I mean, he even says it in his own in the tweet of the video we just watched. He says, "Time to step it up and tame it. Playing one-off whack-a-mole isn't a real solution." And that's just retarded. I'm sorry, but like the the Somali thing was leading to us not playing whack-a-mole anymore. It was taking a look at like the root problem itself. And yeah, I mean, he clearly has an obviously he has an affinity for foreigners, but he does have like this it's like an awareness. It's kind of like how Ben Shapiro is with people like with
Yes,
like Nick Fuentes. Whereas
yes.
like where Nick was talking in an interview with who was his most recent interview? The Christian guy, Joel Webben. And Nick said that Shapiro kind of clocked Nick back in 2016 and tried to basically strangle him in his crib before he could turn into something bigger. And that's why he was a never Trumper, because he saw what Trumpism could lead to. Basically, it could lead to a mass noticing. And I
Hmm.
feel like Vivek has that also, where he'll say the right things, at least if you're just kind of this boomer Fox News Republican. He'll say the right things, but anything that might lead back to noticing like the H-1B problem or noticing Indians or something, he's very quick to nip that in the bud and make sure that it doesn't get out of the bag. He's very conscious of that, I feel like. Um,
I agree. He has a lot of not Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro vibes.
yeah, yeah, it's not just like ethnocentrism or something. It's like he's going to try to beat it before it can even become an issue. And
Yeah, he tries to get out ahead of it a bit.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's go for the last thing. Oh, that's funny. One of the clips I had pulled up was Vivek. Uh, it was the wrong clip, but it was Vivek saying, "We need to return to federalism," like
Oh
you
my
just
gosh.
said.
Yeah, that he sounds like he's probably talking to my old professor.
Yeah, dude. It's really a shame because a lot of
Like, what
these
is that? Like, what a third world trying to explain third world orders federalism or anybody? Nobody cares about that shit. Like, nobody
exactly.
cares. It's such an antiquated issue, especially how, like, if you federalism mattered at a different point in history. Where we are at now is it's just so irrelevant.
Yeah, it again, it reminds me of how a lot of conservatives would talk about black people. This is kind of going away now, thank God, but the whole Brexit thing and like saying that if only black people like
Oh my gosh.
read Thomas Sowell's
Yes.
500-page books, like dude, they don't know how to read. Like I'm sorry
This
to
is
say
very
that.
much it's the exact same thing. Like we just need to fix their culture a bit. I remember
Yes,
talking to somebody about that and they were like saying something, we just need to fix the fatherlessness. And I'm like, has it ever like occurred to you that
Have
like
you met their
maybe
fathers?
well, I
well,
was gonna say, I was like, is that, yeah, there's that, but has it ever occurred to you that that's just not how they want to live? Like,
exactly. Like
they
fix
might just be living in a accordance to how they want to live, and they might enjoy it. And like, no,
Exactly.
there's no single conservative that has ever considered that maybe black people don't want to live the way you live. Like,
Exactly.
and
And
that's,
that
you can not like it. You can say,
Right.
I don't like that about black, but like, nobody's even considered that they're not thinking like a 50-year-old white guy in the suburbs, and that's
Right.
infuriating.
Yeah, there's no it's really just on it's a lack of honesty about genetics and nature, to be honest. It's like,
that's why I get mad at the Second Amendment absolutists. Like I have guns, I love guns, but like the Second Amendment absolutists are like almost the worst on this issue.
yeah, where they think that if we just had guns, if we had even more guns, then we'd be even
Or
like
just like
what
the
would that
if
even
you want
solve?
it it becomes a tricky one because it'll be like, oh, if they just had sufficient range time and learned the gun safety, they wouldn't be firing that Draco sideways out of a moving car.
Exactly. It's the same thing, man. Uh yeah, for this last one, I wanted to get into kind of what you got a lot of flack for, which was the kids issue.
The kids, yeah, the kids.
Yes, let's get into this because I think you hit, dude, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I was so happy to see your tweet about it because I felt like I was a little crazy. I had this tweet. I'm not saying you got it from me. I just think it's cool that we both completely agreed on that
No, a
because
lot of people were thinking it, and
good, glad.
they, a lot of people had to be thinking about it. I told a friend of mine in real life was talking about it, and I was I told him a story about, I went to this funeral, and this, it was a biker funeral. The guy was into big into biking and whatnot, like motorcycles, and he kind of drank a lot, and they were serving beer at the funeral,
Uh-huh.
but everybody was looking at the bar, and nobody went up. And I went up and grabbed a beer, and like, you throw some money into a donation thing, and
Uh-huh.
for the cost of the funeral. And then after that, there was like a flood of people, and the bartenders at this venue where the funeral was held said that happens every time. They said everybody, because like drinking at a funeral isn't like a normal thing. They
Yeah,
said as soon as one person finally does it, everybody does it. And I feel like this,
interesting.
and everybody was in that room thinking, I should like to have a beer right now to
Yes,
honor Fred, because Fred loved Budweiser, and that's all they were serving, right? It's Fred's
yes.
favorite beer. And it was the same thing with the kids. Like,
Oh, that's interesting.
I think everybody was thinking of it, and I was even seeing some private chats where people
Uh-huh.
would have pictures like this one on here, and we're like, what the fuck are these kids doing? They're feral.
Exactly. So there was somebody, I'm not going to name him, he's a friend of mine, but he is an online person also, who completely disagreed with me on this. He said, bruh, this is normal behavior for children. And
Uh,
I was
Dude, my
like,
mom would have
no.
beat my ass.
I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I am not going to give him that cop out. When I look at politicians' kids, like the example I gave was like Elon's son X, right?
Yeah.
Was he a little rambunctious at times? A little bit. Granted, I'll give you that. He's really the only white child I've seen who was a little rambunctious, honestly. But you also look at him, he's well dressed. He's wearing a pea coat. His hair is
Mm-hmm.
coiffed. He's wearing a tie. The other thing that's just offensive here is that they cannot be bothered to put their kids in something other than like it looks like a Salvation Army drop,
The
man.
most
Like
casual, yeah.
most casual thing you can imagine. And I do see a lot of that, people saying, "Oh, this is so normal." I don't think this is normal, man. I don't think that it's actually a huge ask to ask your kids to look at the camera when a picture is being taken. I don't think that that's that crazy.
No,
I think that's it's kind of more of a widespread issue. Like you and I talked about it weeks ago, how it's like becoming a festering issue amongst like younger Gen X and older millennial parents.
What's becoming the issue?
Just kids not behaving and people just kind of punting on parenting.
yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, you see that a lot, but I this the Vivek thing, I'm just gonna show it because I feel a little, well, not bad, but like to be fair to JD Vance here, he doesn't shit on the white man nearly
That's
as
the
much as
difference.
Vivek does.
That's the big. A lot of
That's
people are like, "Why don't you make fun of Elon's kids? Why don't you make fun of JD's kids?" I say, "Well, tell you what. When they go on a big thing about how lazy and mediocre and dumb American kids are
exactly,
and attack their culture, I will go after their kids just as hard. But
exactly.
as long as they're shutting the hell up, I'm not. That's it's making fun of the kids wasn't just about like a low blow. It was, hey, you're going to criticize how your mom raised you, Jordan, how my mom raised me. I spent a ton of time at the mall. I spent a lot of time having sleepovers. If you're gonna mock our childhood, our parents, how we're raising kids, what our kids are doing,
Right.
it's so fair game. And
Yeah.
I was kind of waiting around hoping somebody else would do it because I didn't want all the death threats and doxing and shit that I got from it. But I was, at a certain point, there was a picture of his kid, and I saw it, and I was just like, "That's it, it's over. Like I'm going in right now."
Yeah. Yeah. I had been thinking that for a while. Yeah.
Wait, wasn't there a video where he was giving a speech and they were
Yes,
like running around on stage?
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
trying to find right now. There's pictures of, well, yeah, here's the picture of that event. So this is what was going on stage while Vivek is talking to people who probably, oh wait, sorry, let me share.
I have the I can find the video. I'm sure if you
Yeah, if you want it, if you can
and I'll
DM it to
DM
me.
it to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, just DM it to me
Yeah. Let me
because
grab it.
this video is crazy, man. Because like anybody else, I feel like is giving a speech, especially if you're a public figure and your kids are like causing a ruckus, you either like mention it and kind of like laugh it off and say, "Oh, they had a little too much sugar today" or something like that. But it was almost like he was kind of like flexing on on the crowd, being like, "Yeah, my kids do whatever they want. They're Brahmin class. They're royalty. You can't do anything about this." That's completely the vibe I got.
Yes, I sent you the video, and
Sweet. There we
it
go.
is a flex. I think that in there, like in he mentions Vivek mentions this in his book about how like
Wait, David
the
who?
uh Vivek,
Oh,
sorry.
Vivek. I thought
Yeah,
you said David. My
no,
bad.
no, sorry. Vivek mentions in his book about like how the Brahmins had different rules, and I think that these foreigners think it's. Oh yeah, then he mentioned about how like adults had to respect them even as kids,
Hmm.
even because they were Brahmin. And so I think in their culture it's a flex to let their kids run all over the adults of the lower caste, and
Right.
it's like to show, oh, my kids can do whatever they want because we have a higher status. And I see, I mean, I've seen everybody do it. I've seen liberal white women do it, of course. I've seen rambunctious kids. Well, like I think the rambunctious black kids. I don't think the black moms are doing it necessarily as a flex. I think it's just like they're just all like,
They're just not competent parents, honestly.
yeah, I don't think they're doing
Yeah,
it as
yeah.
like haha. But I've seen people, especially foreigners, with some really awful kids, and I'd look over at the parents, and the parents had this kind of shit-eating grin, like, "Ha, what are you going to do about it?" And it's like, "I
Yeah.
want to fucking kick your 3-year-old in the head. That's what I'm going to do about it."
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
But
Uh,
that's the vibe I got from this too. That it was like, "Ha, my kids can flex all over you. They can ruin this event, and you can't say shit."
and I feel like the white people watching this, they probably are like fighting the urge inside of them to judge him for this. Because if you're at a Vivek speech, if you're at the
In the next 2 years, we're going to see a
if you're at the Ohio Pancake GOP breakfast, you
Mhm.
like Vivek, you're a Republican voter, you want to play, you want to vote for Team Red, whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like something in these people was probably like, is he gonna get them? Are we gonna do anything about
Yes.
this? But like they
Yes.
feel like they're not allowed to think like that, and that's what I see with the boomers a lot with the Indians is they don't have the language yet to be able to critique this, you
Right.
know?
It's the Indian thing's kind of short circuiting their brain because they can't say the rampant welfare abuse. They
Right.
can't say
Say
like
crime.
they
They can't
can't
say
say
they're
Well, and
gonna
they'll be
crime.
like, "Well, my doctor's Indian."
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they like you said, they don't have the language, and it's still kind of developing.
yeah.
Even along the online, right, you still see it developing. And like you noticed too, there was a lot of when we would criticize Indians earlier on, there was a lot of people like, hold on, I don't get the where are you going with this? I don't get the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Wait, what's your problem with Indians? I don't get it. I've gotten that response a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, SW, check this out. I feel like Rich and I have seen this a million times, but
Yeah, which
yeah,
is
check.
good because
Yeah, no, that's great.
I went
Great.
somebody sent it to me, then I'm like, oh yeah, I'll use this. And then after I did, I noticed a bunch of other big accounts retweeting it, like adding their own quote tweet to it, which is
Yes.
great, where they're like, yeah, you would just their own like whatever they had to say. Some of them
Yes.
made it a little bit harsher, some softer, but
But
I
you're
really
tapping into
appreciate.
like the hive mind here. We're
Yes,
creating a new thought, and that's perfect.
yes,
So
exactly. I like when I know some people get all pissy, like, why don't they just retweet me? Well, they have their own kind of spin on it, and that's
right,
fine. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So
In the next 2 years, we're going to see a range of programs from education to healthcare coming back down to the states and
just
to the people
feral.
where they belong.
Totally.
That is the way our founders wanted it. That's the golden era for
I'm
federalism.
surprised they have shoes on or clothes.
2 years in this country. And that means we need leaders, including governors, in this state and across these 50 states.
This one's carrying like a rag. Like
Yeah.
he's carrying like a washcloth
Who
or
are able
something.
Yeah.
to take on that responsibility and take the Make America Great Again agenda back to the state level where it actually belongs in our next phase. So President Trump, he's reviving our conviction in America. But we need a leader here at home who will revive our conviction in Ohio. And that's why last month I declared my candidacy to be the next governor of a great state at the heart of the greatest nation known to mankind. I declared my run to be the next governor of our great state of Ohio. And thank you, so many of you, for your support. We will not let you down. Our state's best days are still yet ahead of us. Thank you.
Yeah, the reason I kind of think it's a little bit of a shit test, whether consciously or not, is because Vivek's a billionaire. You're telling me that he couldn't
Yeah.
find childcare. You're telling me that nobody behind the
It's 100% a flex.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
telling me nobody could have watched the kids for 5 minutes or whatever, 20
Well,
minutes while you give
he
a
has a whole
speech.
staff at his house and they have security. He has a whole thing. So this was of course intentional.
Yeah, yeah. It's and they're like they're not even really like playing a game even. They're just like they're just
Well,
like running in circles.
I mean, I've seen them standing on tables, like trying to get away
Yes.
from them. Like all the pictures, they can't even smile for a picture, and people are like, "That's normal for kids at that age." Like, look at the one of the Halloween one. I was looking at like pictures of me at that age, even younger. There's a picture of me like literally a year old, looking right at the camera with my mom and dad. I'm like,
Exactly.
What the, like these kids are they're just so fucking retarded. Like there's no,
And they,
and he's going to lecture us about discipline and education and merit. It's like, why aren't these kids studying for the spelling bee? Why are they
Yeah.
running around?
and that's what I love about what's developed about the Vivek thing. And you can't overstate the extent to which that he did this to himself, because now every video that he posts where he's at like a NASCAR thing or a football thing, all
Yes.
the comments are like, why isn't your kid studying, Vivek? And that's true. Like if your critique is that we don't study and we just want to be at the game, okay, well apply that to your kids. They should be at the Kumon Learning Center, man.
Yeah.
And
the whole
yeah,
thing is great.
then-
How much he brought it on himself was
and
perfect.
this is I think this is attributable to you. We have Times of India on the screen. Unimaginable
Yeah.
a year ago. Indians in the U.S. raise concern over online hatred as Vivek Ramaswamy's kids come
Yeah.
under attack. Like they're not going to mention that Vivek attacked the American youth at all. We're not going to
No.
hear about that.
And that was just my total defense of it. It's
Yeah.
just when people are like, how low can you be to, let's see, I think the screenshots are even in there. I'm pulling up that article. CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is this guy who does like oh yeah, he's quoting Matt Forney and me. And so they were saying like, why aren't we suspended? There was a guy that said, oh yeah, so this one just, yeah, I'm in there a bunch. He said there's levels to this hatred. I don't think there's anything worse than this. So he's saying about what I said, calling kids feral. There's people in there that were saying Vivek. So Vivek kind of like teased that little lawsuit, like you better save your records because
I saw
if you
that.
defamed me. And there was a bunch of Indians asking like Vivek directly like why he isn't suing me yet, which that would just be the most hilarious shit show on the planet.
That would be hysterical.
Yeah, and I've said like go ahead and do it. Like I'll depose him for 8 hours straight for 3 days in a row. I don't give a fuck. It'll be I'll videotape it and I'll upload it online as soon as I can.
Yeah.
I'll live stream. I'll get a Twitch account and it'll be like, all right, this is the deposition of Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, no, I loved seeing that. That's a great start to 2026.
It is. He
noticing
crashed
Vivek's
out
kids.
so bad. I knew. I posted it. I said I got an idea to force a crash out, and here we go.
Yeah, it worked perfectly, man. And then lastly, I guess I think we can probably attribute a lot of this to you, a lot of this to Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, but
I
yeah, it
think
looks like
so
Vivek
because I think,
he's off.
yeah, I think Nick was going after him real hard. Matt Forney was. Anybody that had the
Yeah,
thing is with Nick more so than me, but me too, is that when you have people that'll kind of like you've been around for a long time, people trust you, they know you, they might know you in real life, they'll like jump in and help you out. And Nick
yeah,
definitely
exactly.
has that. And then I, like I said, to a smaller degree, I have that. And that, if you're just like a random, there's like a lot of big accounts that people follow, but they don't really know the person. And so
Right.
there's no kind of like camaraderie, or I'm going to jump in with this guy and help him out. And that happened a lot with us. And I think that really made it difficult for them
Yeah, yeah,
to stay online. Yeah.
yeah. It was really good to see that that a lot of people jumped in and um, yeah, everybody kind of knows the under 30 crowd definitely knows the score on the Indian thing at this point, and it's great to see. Um, yeah, I guess we can. I guess the last thing I kind of wanted to ask, and SW, you can throw anything else in that you want to throw in at the end. We didn't really get to the Somali thing. I feel like
Oh yeah.
we already know the score there.
There's
I
not a
saw him.
ton to say really.
Yeah, it's
Just
like I know. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so obvious. Well, it's kind
yeah.
of, I think I said the only thing I think you did a good job bringing up the daycare thing earlier and kind of like the nuts and bolts behind it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot, and you know this from Columbus, because up in Milwaukee, it's a very similar city.
Yep.
Like it's been a scam forever in the black community, but they didn't do it as flagrantly as the Somalis did it.
yeah,
It
No,
was
not as flagrantly.
It
And
existed, but they almost like at least tried to run some semblance of it of an actual daycare, but like
yes,
would just kind of fudge the numbers.
yes. And that there's that. And it was never these kind of numbers for one. And the other thing was it wasn't so. I mean, every other Somali around here is driving around a brand new Range Rover or an AMG Mercedes
yeah.
SUV. And there's that, which is very bizarre and obvious. And the other thing that's kind of grating is these foreigners, like the Indians and Somalis around here, they'll shop at Costco, and that's about it. Like I will never see them at a bar or a
They're
local
not a part of
pizza restaurant.
this. Great point.
So
They're
they
not a
send
part of the community at all.
no,
Not at all.
they'll shop at their own ethnic grocery stores, which are largely a lot of
Well,
EBT fraud,
yep.
and they'll send money overseas. Whereas, like, when black people get some money, I actually see them shopping out at the mall and at restaurants and going to bars and like
Well, you see
at
that
the
with
casino.
Mexicans and
Yeah,
Hans and
Mexicans.
like all sorts of
Yeah,
other
I'll
groups.
see a lot of Mexicans. I'll see them out eating restaurants like at a regular places other than just the Mexican place. But like Somalis, Indians, they would rather be tortured than give a dime to like an actual American.
Exactly.
Yep.
What I'm curious about, because you said that SW said that like the fraud was always kind of there with with American blacks, but the amount the flagrantness of the Somali thing is what blew
Yeah,
it
because
up.
I remember
But
that what would happen is if FBAs got too greedy with the daycare scam, the state would come in and make an example of somebody.
mhm.
Yes.
And
But
so then
what I'm wondering though is like what, because it's not an IQ thing, because the Somalis have like I think it's a standard deviation lower IQ than even African Americans.
Oh,
I think
definitely.
the
Yeah.
thing that I'm very curious about is who's helping them fill out these forms. Like, and I don't mean like it's a Goldberg helping and maybe that's what's going on.
I
But
think
I
it's
mean
just
like who
literally
is
like
it? Like,
somebody figures it out, and then there's such a tight-knit community that
yeah, that's true. They
they
could
just kind
expand
of
within
all teach
themselves.
each other how to do it.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that. I don't know though.
I have a, I go, I kind of think it's up to the top. Like I think the reason, oh shit, what Tim Waltz is not running is because
Hmm.
I think he's in hot water. And then the statements Mike DeWine in Ohio made about it, like, well, it just kind of costed doing business. That suggests to me they knew all along and that people are in on it. Whereas,
Interesting.
yeah, I think that they were in on it. And then there's also an interesting thing about these foreign communities, unlike blacks, where um, they're so insular and so
Mhm.
tight knit that it's like way beyond the no snitching culture in the hood. It's
Right,
like
right.
nobody would tell and like figure it out. Like
Yeah.
Somalis don't associate with people who aren't Somalis, and Indians like don't associate. Like nobody's going to figure it out. Whereas if you had a bunch of blacks that had families been here for 400 years, um, and then one of them comes out, with a brand new $100,000+ SUV, like people might start to ask some questions. Whereas with the Somalis, they kind of had this veil of foreignness, and then they also had this benefit of positive, like the Indians and Somalis both had this benefit of positive stereotypes. Oh, like I remember
Yes.
making a tweet 6 months ago about like, how do all these Somalis have these expensive foreign cars? And
Mhm.
people are like, well, they're just smarter and hardworking than you. But if somebody, I don't mean to demean classic blacks or anything, but
No, but I
if I
know what
would
you
have
mean.
said, how do all these blacks have expensive Hellcats?
They would
Nobody
say
would have
they're
said, well, they're just smarter and hardworking than
exactly.
you.
They would have jumped to the conclusion they're dealing drugs, they're
They're
doing
dealing
whatever.
drugs, right?
But
So because
yeah, yeah.
there's more negative stereotypes associated with
Hmm.
classic blacks and
Hmm.
positive ones associated with like Somalis. They benefited from that. Nobody thought it's fraud or crime because that they had these Range Rovers because they're just smart and hardworking.
Yeah, yeah. That is really the thing, is that it's the foreignness of them
Yes, they had a
because
lot of
people.
cover for that.
Yeah, yeah, that's what you're seeing with a lot of these groups now. It's the shine and the facade are kind of wearing off now, not to where we need it to be, but it
It's
is
starting, yeah.
starting to wear off where people are like, okay, you didn't get that AMG, the Mercedes AMG from a hardworking business. So that is starting to wear off. I'm glad that that's happening. I think, demographically, obviously we should still keep doing the work that we're all doing, but eh, the demographic picture is bleak, but yeah, we're just gonna have to keep going and hopefully wake more people up. That's kind of the game at this point.
That too, and we got to get when we finally can do deportation squads, we're hiring like a bunch of black ICE agents and black deportation squads, and they're going to roll
Yeah,
up on the foreign ops and
yeah,
throw them in
man.
the back and get rid of them.
Hell
That's
yeah.
actually an interesting point that like and I don't know how it is up in Minneapolis, but like there's not like a shared culture or unity between FBAs and Somalis.
No, they hate each other.
Exactly.
They hate each
Exactly.
other.
That's gonna have to be something. I don't know that it's like a prerequisite to getting motion on this because black people just aren't very politically aware. Like
They're just
they're
not
just
as
not.
involved. They're not real
Yeah, yeah,
active
they're
with
just not
these.
as involved.
They're
It
not
is what it is.
interested in this kind of like this side of Twitter kind of stuff.
Right, right. But that mistrust could it could maybe work positively in the future, but yeah, that remains to be seen. But you are right though. There is just an inherent distrust. A lot of it is just jealousy too. Like you see that with the Nigerians and stuff. I'm not pro Nigerian legal migration, but like a lot of the Nigerians do come and become like a doctor or something like that because we're selecting for the highest IQ.
Right, right.
So a lot of it is just jealousy where they're like, why do they have it better than me? I don't really care. Play that out. That's fine with me. So, yeah, I think that's probably a good place to end it.
Cool.
Yeah, Rich, we'd love to have you on again,
I
man.
would
I
love to
really
come back. It
appreciate
was
it.
great and a
Anytime.
lot of fun. Yeah, I really
Yeah,
appreciate you
dude.
guys.
We talk about similar things, and thanks for getting Vivek off of Twitter.
Hell
That's a
yeah.
blessing. Actually it may be
It's going
kind
to
of a
take out. It was a lot of fun. I
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah,
checking his account and see what I could like make fun of him for that day.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
he even posted in that Wall Street Journal that he deleted the apps from his phone. But he
Hmm.
he basically intimated that he's addicted to Twitter and that he might be lurking again by March. So I think he might be back.
Okay. Well, when he does come back, we'll
We'll,
have something for
we'll be
him.
waiting for him. Yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
man. All right,
Yeah,
I'll
follow.
talk to you guys soon, and
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. And we'll chat on Twitter. Then yeah, I'd like to do. We'll next time we have some more topics, we'll I'll do another show. That'd be great.
awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for joining. And SW, it's always good. We'll probably just do a show next week then and just touch base next. Do another show next
Yeah.
Tuesday or something. Or maybe Saturday. We'll
So,
figure it out.
yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone for watching, and we will be back soon. Have a good one, man.